Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. We're going to talk a little socialism, but first, Chuck Bonniwell, you know him from the Chuck and Julie show. He is the lesser half of that show, and from the Glendale Chronicle. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right,
it's great to be here.
The Chronicle has this pretty fascinating little footprint.
Right.
It has a circulation of 100,000?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know there were that many people that needed packing paper for their moves in Glendale.
Well, you know, a lot of birds.
Yeah.
You got a
lot of bird cages.
Yeah, a lot of bird cages.
Yeah. You wrote a column for the Chronicle that I saw, and it got my attention like that, and it had to do with CDOT.
Right.
And really throwing a flag on the Colorado Department of Transportation. I believe you were dead on this one.
Well,
I've heard this.
Thank you.
Tell me the backstory first before you get to the column itself. Why, you're not. I'm a transportation junkie.
Right.
You are not.
I am not a transportation junkie.
I mean, you're a junkie, but that's a personal thing.
But get the arm out.
So why the Glendale Chronicle?
Because the people in CDOT, the contractors and everyone else, could not get the Denver Post or any other big one to do it.
To do what?
To explore all the problems with CDOT, how it had become a highly politicized one that in fact had been captured by the employees, and they're all leaving and going on consulting contracts, and they've hiked the prices of every project by at least a third. The total disarray on Shoshana Liu, the new head of CDOT, and how unqualified and inept she is. They wanted to get that story out, and we have the reputation, we'll take on people. And so they came to us. They certainly tried other vehicles.
For those who don't know, not only do you do that show on KNUS every day, but the Chronicle is your rag.
I own it.
You own it.
I own 100% of it.
Really?
Yes.
Business good?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
It really is. I mean, it's strange because the Denver Post still makes money, but the hedge fund kind of
takes it off.
Siphons it off. But we get an enormous amount of advertising. We have to turn advertising away because we don't want to go more than 28 pages because that adds to the mailing cost, it adds to printing cost. So we have to turn away advertisers. So there's a lot of people looking for print advertising because it's one of the few. Every medium has its advantages. Television does, but what print has that the rest do not have is people enjoy the ads. You don't have to read an ad. You don't have it like on your screen where all of a sudden it pops up into your eyesight. People enjoy the ads. They look for ads, and so that's one of the great advantages that print media has that others don't. Now others have other advantages, but that's a great one for print.
So when these guys wanted to get a story out, they came to you. What guys specifically? You got some names you might want to drop here?
No, because they're terrified. I mean,
what are they terrified of?
CDOT. Well, CDOT will be fired, or at least will never get a raise. They wouldn't. Attacking the head of your organization is never a good idea for promotions within the agencies.
It seems to work at the Independence Institute pretty well.
Yeah, that's probably true. But also they do work with CDOT. They get contracts and stuff. They're invited to do bids for contracts. Right. And if they came out critically, they would cease to get those.
I remember my days at RTD when I was on the RTD
Right,
board.
I remember that.
And during some of the light rail fights,
Yes.
I'd be there. I'd be arguing for a no vote and I'd be in the elevator at RTD, and some guy with pocket protector. We were in the elevator, and he'd just lean over and go, "You're doing the right thing, really. You're right on this one." Shh, but I can't.
Yeah, don't want to go out there.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right,
that people who know better. All right, let's get into CDOT. Our Colorado Department of Transportation was once called, and I preferred it, the Department of Highways.
Yes.
Their job was to take care of our roads. I believe they are strangling our roads on purpose. I believe they're dieting our roads on purpose. I think that there is a war against the automobile from our new progressive overlords. And I don't think CDOT wants to fix our roads.
They don't have anything to do with
And
roads.
I'll tell you that our legislature sure doesn't want to do it.
Right.
They'll be happy to do a tax increase, but for the last decade, since Senate Bill 1, what was that, over 10 years ago, they have starved roads. It used to be we had a Senate Bill 1 formula, and excess money would kind of go into that pot. That's dried up. And so while everything else has ballooned in the budget, education has ballooned, healthcare has gone up 2-3 times in the last decade.
Medicare.
You look at the chart,
Indeed.
and transportation is flatlined, and then you realize out of that flat line, they're pulling money out for trolleys and bike lanes and
multimodal transportation
and place to plug in your hybrid and your Tesla.
No, and we had Proposition CC was supposed to go to roads. It never would have gone to roads. They never would have gotten any money. They would have pulled enough out of the general fund. There was no increase. You can always con the taxpayer. Oh, I want new roads, but you're right. They're starving it.
Well, tell me, since Polis came to town, our new CDOT director. Who is she, and give me some background on her.
Sure. Shoshana Liu. She's the daughter of Jack Liu. Jack Liu was the chief of staff for Obama and then later his Treasury secretary. She was 35 years old, had a degree in history from Harvard, and was planning to be a history professor. And then Jack Liu got in the Obama administration, so he quickly went to Brookings and then just rose astronomically in the bureaucracies as the rich and powerful, children of the rich and powerful do. She became the chief financial officer of the U.S. Department of Transportation with no accounting degree, no math degree, not the slightest background in financial. She then went over to the road, as Obama administration was winding down, she jumped ship to the Rhode Island Department of Transportation, which became the COO, disastrous one-year term, and from there—
What made it disastrous?
She didn't know what she was doing. She couldn't be a chief operating officer. She knows nothing about engineering. She knows nothing about construction management. She knows nothing about what they do.
But let me just stop you there. CDOT is mostly about construction management. There is budgeting that goes on. You have your experts out there to look at roads and bridges, to prioritize what repairs and maintenance need to happen, and then to plan forward saying, we're going to need a road here. We're going to need to close the C470 loop at some point. We're going to need to widen this bottleneck. What do you think it's going to cost? Putting those plans in and then managing those projects, putting them out to bid and getting it done. So project management is one of the key skills.
And civil engineering. I mean, you have to design things, at least partially.
You can have engineers for that.
Well, you wouldn't believe
setting the priorities are
what
crucial.
kind of engineers they have. They have people who are biomedical engineers. That doesn't do you a lot of good when you're trying to do a road. I mean, they're an engineer, and that's what the statute requires.
You said when you're trying to do a road. I am convinced in my soul they're not trying to do roads.
Well, they have to occasionally do one, or at least repair one, like 36 when the.
I don't know what happened under the Hickenlooper administration that they did this thing and it fell down.
Well, the 36 has existed for ever since they had it as a toll road, right? It stood fine. It lasted 5 years from their last deal. 5 years. That's all when it was falling into the hillside. I mean, amazing.
Well, it's not like we didn't know there were bad soils there. Somebody dropped the ball.
People build over the Chesapeake Bay. I mean, build in water. I mean, they can figure that out, right? I mean,
you can say the contractor screwed up, but part of project management is making sure that you keep an eye on the contractors and they are fulfilling the right tests, the right surveys, the right soil analysis. Sooner or later, it falls to Hickenlooper and his CDOT for that one.
Well, the contractors in this case, they just tell them what to build, right? I mean, contractors say, we're not the geniuses of the world, we're the hard workers. Yeah. You tell us what to build and we build it. And that one, as I heard a lot today, because I was meeting with a lot of contractors, they said, that's geotechnical. They tell us to build A. We build A. We don't tell them how to build A. We build A for them. And so the geotechnical, but nobody took responsibility. And one company, I think it was Kramer's, come in for $22 million to repair it. I mean, that's twice as much as it should cost, according to every contractor I've talked to.
What bothers me the most, and you hit on this in your column, was the social engineering part of this.
Yes.
That, what we want to provide for the citizens of Colorado, I love this, is choice.
Yeah.
What choice means is
No choice.
No choice. What this means is your roads are going to suck because we're going to build more bike paths.
Yes.
We're going to constrict lanes like on Broadway.
Dieting.
Oh,
Broadway
right.
is wonderful. How they destroyed Broadway.
Yeah, and we're going to make traffic worse.
Yes.
In hopes that you get so frustrated you leave your car behind and hop on the trolley.
Yeah, or the RTD one that everybody's getting out of.
Yeah, exactly. But given RTD's terrible numbers, I don't think that's happening.
No, it's not.
We're not building roads for the future.
No.
We are doing Soviet-style behavior modification.
Yes.
And
yes.
Why? What's the driving force?
Two things, I think. One, you've got the developers. Developers, don't want to have to pay for anything. They don't have parking, for example. Parking costs lots of money. If every developer I've ever met, except for shopping centers, says, well, can we cut the parking in half or 2/3? So that's constantly driving why Denver is becoming just so ossified, unbelievably ossified. And two is the idea that politically, you stack people on top of each other, they become Democrats. And so they can't wait to stack people on top of each other.
Well, and as simplistic as that is,
it's simplistic but
it's
true.
Right.
Yeah.
And that this pack and stack type of development, developers like it because they know where the rail stop's going to be and the bike path's going to be here. They do the deal for the land. We put people on top of one another.
But they don't do that. They don't do it. The whole point of the prior plan before they were in Denver was to put them all around light rail. They didn't want to be around light rail. They wanted to be in Cherry Creek. They wanted to be in Country Club. They wanted to take over the parkland. They didn't want to be around the transportation systems, and they didn't care less the fact that they weren't going to be able to get anywhere.
Well, the beauty of this is it all comes down to the growth control of these urban growth boundaries that says, all right, everybody's got to live here, even though 98% of the state that can be built on isn't built on.
Right.
We're all packed into this metro area
Yes.
for fear of sprawl. And of course, one man's sprawl is another man's American dream to have a yard
right.
and a garage.
Exactly. Exactly. And they hate that.
CDOT is controlled by a board of directors. The board of directors is basically chosen by the governor. The CDOT director is chosen by the governor. The governor comes out of Boulder, and this is a very Boulderistic CDOT. And so
the commissioners don't know anything. They have no background. They used to have contractors. They used to have people who had a background in transportation, in contracting, and building. Now they're all appointed. They are nothing more than a rubber stamp anymore. They are a rubber stamp. The staffs control them. They know very little about the subject matter, and they're commissioners, but they're commissioners in name only.
All right, last question. You put out this thing, and the column goes out to your 100,000
Yes.
Supposed readers.
Supposed
readers.
Oh.
But something happened. This got traction online.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, it got a lot on Twitter, and then from Twitter it got into mainstream national ones. Free Republic picked it up. A lot of national ones picked it up, and so we got an enormous amount of hits. We don't, we're not
You're not a digital outfit.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
you had a viral hit.
Right.
Because I think people know this, they feel it, but they don't know how to express what's going on at CDOT. All they know is, for the last decade, our roads suck.
Right.
And the response from the progressives is, we got to build me some more bike lanes, and that'll take care of it.
The same thing is happening in New York City. It's the same thing. There are two letters before the dot in a lot of places that have been politicized in states that it's political. And so it did have enormous resonance with people outside of Colorado. I said, wait a minute, we have the same thing here in Illinois. We have the same thing here in New Jersey. I mean, it's a universal story. It's specifically about Colorado, but it does have national appeal.
People want to read it. Where do they go?
They can go to GlendaleCherryCreek.com.
GlendaleCherryCreek.com.
And it's right there for them to read, and it's all there.
Chuck, all the best to Julie.
All right.
Treat her better, will you? Everybody tells you that. Stay tuned.